Hello everybody, and welcome to the first video on the Arkham Clod. Today we are counting down the top 5 features I want to see return in this rumored Batman Arkham Legacy game. It's basically confirmed that they're making it. I mean, the things they've teased on Twitter, it's practically blatantly obvious now. But for one of my top 5s to qualify for this list, they have to be in a maximum of 2 games. They can be in less, but they can't be in 3 or 4. So there is one exception on this list, but it's also not really an exception. We'll get to it later. But anyways, let's just jump into number 5. Number 5, the Batmobile. The Batmobile, although it was handled poorly in Batman Arkham Knight, really was a great concept. The driving at first felt a little clunky, but once you got used to it, you could get around Gotham pretty fast. Ignoring all of the tank features, the Batmobile is a must-have, because the tank features were terrible. They didn't make sense, and they were overused. It was really just a terrible thing for the game. Number 4, the Batcave. The Batcave has technically been in 3 games, but not really. There are some Arkham Knight challenge maps in the Batcave and Arkham City challenge maps in the Batcave. I guess technically it's been in all of the games somewhat, but not really. The Batcave technically premiered in Arkham Asylum, although it wasn't really the real one. It was just kind of a temporary one on Arkham Island. But in Arkham Origins, in fact, there was a really great Batcave. You could go through it. There was a medical bay. There was a Bat computer. There was a suit changer. There was also AR training, so you could train and learn a bunch of the combat moves. It was kind of an interesting tutorial bit. But it was actually a really nice concept. The Batwing was also there, so I feel like that if they make another Batman Arkham game, they need to have the Batcave. Especially if it's going to be a sequel to Origins, like most people are theorizing. You need to have the Batcave return. But speaking of the AR challenges from earlier, number 3, AR training. This is different than the challenge maps. The AR training, as I said before, was kind of just a tutorial teaching you the mechanics of the game, and I think for beginners, that was really useful. I know when I played Arkham Origins, I hadn't played a Batman game in about 7 years, so they were really helpful for me. I went through them all, and they really help once you do go and do the challenge maps, because you're going to need to know pretty much every single move if you are going to get a high enough score to get all the stars in the challenge maps. I feel like in Arkham Legacy they should do this again, where you can just do the AR training optionally. For Arkham veterans, you don't need it, but for newbies, I'd suggest to add it. Number 2, fear multi-takedowns. Look, even if you hated Arkham Knight, you loved the fear multi-takedowns. It was awesome to take out up to 5 enemies within a few seconds. And it was very handy in missions like the bank robbery ones from Two-Face. There was an okay balance with you having to recharge the fear multi-takedown by doing a silent takedown, but it was still kind of overpowered. Maybe for the future, limit it to 1 fear multi-takedown per predator encounter, or just make it so that you need to get more silent takedowns to recharge. Otherwise, it was a great feature that really needs to return in any new Batman Arkham game. Number 1, free roaming as characters other than Batman. You probably didn't enjoy the Arkham stories in the Arkham Knight DLC packs, because pretty much nobody did. But it's also probably true that you enjoyed playing as Catwoman in Arkham City. Catwoman was really interesting because she had a completely different play style to Batman. She had her own campaign, she had her own even kind of post game mission, and she just had all different abilities and playstyle. Catwoman was a really interesting addition. I think for a future Arkham game, we need more DLC like the Catwoman DLC. We need to be able to play as other characters like Nightwing, Robin, Harley Quinn, Red Hood, even. It would be just great if you could switch to, heck, even the Joker in the next Arkham game. If you could play as the Joker for a little bit. And no, playing as the Joker for like 2 minutes in Arkham Origins doesn't count. I want an experience where I can go in the free roam world and maybe have a small campaign or a mission or two. I just think this really needs to be a feature in Arkham Legacy. And if it's going to be a sequel to Batman Arkham Origins, like we're speculating it will be, then I think it would be great if we could play as Jason Todd Robin. Maybe you can make it DLC, maybe you can make it main story, but I think that would work perfectly. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching the first video on the Arkham Clod. I'm hoping to greatly expand this channel soon. We have more Arkham top 5s coming. And yes, I was in fact inspired by Degenerate J. I have been around on his channel since he started making the Arkham videos. I believe I was there when he made the first Arkham video. So that really inspired me. My friends and I are also going to do some videos together. Frostborn and I, you may have seen the live stream on Clod. Actually, you probably wouldn't have. But we did a live stream on Clod Gaming. And we were considering starting a podcast. But anyways, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. And remember, it's not who you are underneath, but what you do that defines you.
Society. We live in a society.
How about another joke, Beret? What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? I'll tell you what you get. You get what you... The other day I made a video on the 5 features I want to see return in the rumored Batman Arkham Legacy game, so I thought today would be fitting to make a video talking about the 5 features from previous Arkham games that I do not want to see return. So, with this very short intro, let's just jump right into it. I'm sorry, I like Philip DeFranco. Number 5, Enigma Data Packs. Look, if Arkham Legacy does turn out to be a real thing, it is almost certain we will see the likes of Edward Nygma and his infamous trophies. There are rumors, though, that Arkham Legacy will be a sequel to Arkham Origins, and that wouldn't be too surprising. And so if that happens to be true, I do not want stupid Enigma that's Enigma Data Packs. Yeah, that's what they're called. I don't want freaking extortion file data packs. Sure, the extortion files got you the bios and the tapes, but really, nobody actually cared. I'm sorry, WB Montreal, but nobody really cared about them. Also, nobody cares about the anarchy tags, so don't do those because they are like the riddles, but worst. Riddler is practically inevitable for another Arkham game, so I really hope that we get to collect actual Riddler trophies instead of just these stupid data packs, which sometimes did not even have a puzzle to them. Sometimes they just were randomly lying on the roof. So hopefully we get something better in the next game. Number 4, a tank. I talked about how I did want the Batmobile to return in Arkham Legacy in my last video, but also I don't want it to be a tank. Sure, in Arkham Knight the tank was kind of fun, but way overused. Bosses like Deathstroke were pitiful with their stupid tank battles, and were overall just not fun. I want the Batmobile just for getting around Gotham, and maybe you can use it for some puzzles for Riddler trophies here and there. The Batmobile deserves to be in the next Arkham game, but it does not deserve to be subjected to a tank. Number 3, useless side quests. In Arkham Origins, there were 2 whole side quests that were completely pointless. You'd examine the crime scene, Alfred would find a suspect, you would interrogate the suspect, and you were done. The murders they were just random street criminals too. They gave them random names, but they had nothing to do with the Batman universe. They weren't actual villains. These side quests were pointless and a waste of time, and I did not enjoy replaying them getting this footage for you. Crime scene investigations. Look, crime scenes are a fine feature. They shouldn't be completely removed, honestly, but in Batman Arkham Origins, they are jam-packed, and there's way too many in that game. It's not even funny. I mean, we still do need to keep the crime scenes, because being a detective is a whole, that's whole Batman aspect. But I do not want them to make so many of these crime scenes. They took up like the entire game in Arkham Origins, and they should really cut back on it. Number 1, and I hate to say this, but the Joker. The Joker is one of Batman's greatest villains, and personally my favorite villain. But he is in every Arkham game. In Asylum, he's good. In City, he's great. And his death is genuinely emotional. It's actually one of my favorite scenes where he says, where Batman says, what's funny? I would have saved you. And then Joker dies laughing, and he says, that is pretty funny. That is one of my favorite, actually that probably is my favorite scene in all of Batman Arkham. Heck, even in Night, I know Joker's inclusion is heavily criticized, but I really liked him in that, because it was this whole thing of he was psychologically tormenting Batman, and I really like those kinds of villains, psychological villains. And then even in Origins, he's kind of perfect, because you get to learn this is how the whole trilogy started. This is why the Joker is how he is. He was great in all the games he was in, but I think it's time that we show some spotlight to some other villains. The only bad thing about him in Origins, though, was the Black Mask fake out. Heck, if we're getting an Origins sequel, I would actually like to see Black Mask as the main villain. Or you could do someone else, like Deathstroke. Or, heck, you could have kind of a team, kind of what you did with the Assassins in Origins, with a bunch of ridiculous characters. You could have, like, Killer Moth, the Ventriloquist, or a lot of the dorkier ones, Kite Man. But please, no more Joker. Maybe have some challenge maps where you can play as the Joker, or have, like, a mission where you meet him. Maybe he helps you do something. But please, do not have the Joker as the main villain again. I hope you enjoyed the video. What don't you want to see from a new Arkham game? What do you want to see from a new Arkham game? Or do you even want to see a new one at all? I'll be back with a new Arkham video soon, but remember, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Well, I have this whole outro thing where I say a quote from some Batman comic or movie, but I have an idea for an intro. Look who's laughing now, Clods. Or maybe something more like, hello, Clods. Look who's laughing now. I'm not sure. You'll find out in the next video.